Hello everybody! Welcome to day 30 of this chilling challenge. It's almost over. Today's a little different than usual because there's not actually a topic that I'm supposed to talk about. It's a free day, and I've decided to talk about Disney Channel Halloween specials. So I'll be counting down my top 5 Disney Channel Halloween movies, as well as Halloween themed episodes. And unlike most of my top 5 videos, this one actually has an order. Number 5, Twitches. Remember that time, though very brief, when Disney Channel made 2 movies starring women of color? Twitches and Twitches 2 being those movies. The movie gets points for having women of color in prominent roles, and there's most certainly a market for young women find out that they're witches stories. So good for Disney Channel for making movies for that market. But at the same time, well, the princess and I tried to watch this on Tuesday. We couldn't get past 8 minutes of it. The acting is really stagnant, the special effects are worse than Once Upon a Time, the Guardians are really incompetent and very annoying, and there's just so many classic Disney Channel cliches. Look, we're twins and we have opposite personalities. So yeah, it's not that great, but Disney Channel makes subpar movies all the time, usually with all-white casts. And the fact that they didn't this time is actually pretty cool. On top of that, it's characters of color shown in a fantasy setting, a setting where people of color are usually not in because of historical accuracy or whatever. I know that sounds like an oxymoron, like historical accuracy in a fantasy setting, but it's a real argument. A stupid one. Whatever. Twitches is ultimately a mindless movie that will probably get young kids, and possibly you, in the Halloween spirit. Number 4, Kim Possible, October 31st. This episode came out in 2002, and it starts out with villains Dr. Draken and Duff Killigan making a deal over a piece of stolen tech. Kim and Ron bust in, and the tech, called the Centurion Project, becomes attached to Kim's wrist. Since it's Halloween, Kim's friend Monique is hosting a party where Kim's crush is gonna be at, so she wants to go. But Kim and Ron have this tradition of trick-or-treating together, and so she lies to him to get out of it, and then she has to lie to her parents to cover it up. And every time she lies, the Centurion Project expands across her body to form battle armor, basically. Pretty good episode, definitely has the Halloween setting that I would expect of a Halloween special, and overall a good episode of Kim Possible. Number 3, Gravity Falls, Summerween. Gravity Falls, like Phineas and Ferb, takes place over the course of a summer, so how are they gonna have a Halloween special? So the premise of this episode is that the town of Gravity Falls loves Halloween so much that they celebrate it twice a year, which I think is pretty funny. It's rather obvious that the writers were just like, we want a Halloween special that doesn't mess with the linear timeline and the overarching premise of the show, dang it! Who wants to go sit on my buffalo? The watermelons in place of pumpkins are a nice touch. Dipper and Mabel have a tradition of going trick-or-treating every year, but Dipper wants to go to this party because his crush is gonna be there, and so Dipper lies about it to Mabel so that he can go to the party. This sounds familiar. He inadvertently pisses off the Halloween trickster, this monster that threatens to eat all of them if they don't collect a certain amount of candy by the end of the night. I actually think this is one of the most enjoyable episodes of the first season of Gravity Falls. There's a lot of humor as well as some serious character development going on. And since Gravity Falls is a show that deals with the supernatural in every episode, it would have been really easy for them to not do a Halloween special for this reason. But they handled it really well. They created a new monster to fit with the Halloween theme, and they focused on the setting as well as the traditions and the decorations. Ultimately, great Halloween special and a great episode. And I have never heard anything ever acknowledge the existence of loser candy, like that white powdery stuff on cheap chocolate and those wax lips, like until this episode. So bonus points, because why not? An honorable mention goes to the 2014 Halloween special, Little Gift Shop of Horrors. It's definitely a different kind of episode from a narrative perspective, and it is kind of cool that you get to stand in as a character. This episode has Grunkle Stan telling us 3 different stories associated with items in the Mystery Shack. While I'm not really attached to the first story about a witch with a thing for hands, the second one where Waddles becomes super smart and he builds himself like a voice box. Oh my god! Waddles! Jesus! Ah! Why did you do that? Don't do that again! As I was saying, the second one where Waddles becomes a genius overnight and he builds himself a voice box is very fun and very funny, especially because Waddles is voiced by none other than astrophysicist Neil deGrasse Tyson. It's just as great as it sounds. The last story is also really cool and features a lot of what I like to call animator rib nudging, because claymation is discussed as a form of animation in this episode of an animated show. There's also some super cool claymation scenes. However, I don't really feel like Little Gift Shop of Horrors stands out as a Halloween special because it's just talking about these weird and super supernatural things that go on in Gravity Falls, which is what every other episode of Gravity Falls is about. So it really has nothing to do with Halloween, but Neil deGrasse Tyson is wonderful nonetheless. Number 2. Phineas and Ferb. Do you know how many Halloween specials Phineas and Ferb has? 8! One of which, Night of the Living Pharmacists, is 45 minutes long. So of the 8, I've seen 4 of them. I did not have time to watch all of them before I shot this video. I've seen The Monster of Phineas and Ferbstein, One Good Scare Ought to Do It, That's the Spirit, and The Curse of Candace. The first 2 aren't necessarily Halloween episodes, but they do have supernatural elements as well as haunted houses, so the aesthetic is there. The Monster of Phineas and Ferbstein is a hilarious episode, and I know it by heart. One Good Scare Ought to Do It has a Haunted Mansion reference, so that's good enough for me. That's the Spirit and The Curse of Candace are definitely more directly influenced by Halloween. That's the Spirit actually takes place on Halloween, and it's got a haunted house, and there's a lot of really interesting kind of monster visuals, like Doofenshmirtz, who turns into a werecow, as in a half man, half cow. It's super weird. I say that like it's unusual for Phineas and Ferb episode to be really weird. The Curse of Candace has Candace seeing a teen werewolf vampire flick at the beginning of the episode, and it could not be any more obvious that they are making fun of Twilight than if they got Robert Pattinson to be the voice of the vampire. They did get Michael J. Fox to be the voice of the werewolf, which is funny for reasons. And then Candace thinks she's been turned into a vampire for the rest of the episode, and it's really funny, and then she goes to like the Phineas and Ferb version of Hot Topic. There's also a reference to the Rocky Horror Picture Show made by the dad, who is of course voiced by Richard O'Brien, who plays Riff Raff in the movie. So Phineas and Ferb came out on top of all of these other shows basically because of quantity, but also quality. And finally, number 1, my all-time favorite Disney Channel Halloween special is Halloweentown High! The Halloweentown movies are corny, and there is no way to get around that. I mean, the whole premise is based on monsters who are friendly. I don't know if this is necessarily the best Halloweentown movie, but it is my favorite. I think the family dynamic is really well done in this movie, and I also enjoy the creativity and the makeup and the costumes that go into the monsters. Something I really enjoy about these movies is that women have a prominent role. White women have a prominent role. It's both very difficult and very easy to be satisfied with any kind of representation when it comes to marginalized groups, because on the one hand it's like, yay, we have more than 2 female characters, and then it's like, there are no people of color in this movie. Nevertheless, the movie has a lot of female characters. I think there's a cool message about the fear of change and how that fear is used by authority figures to control people. Not very original or subtle, but I don't really expect a lot of subtlety from my Disney Channel movies. I will admit that some of the things in this list are better written than Halloweentown High, better voice acting, stuff like that. And the main reason Halloweentown High is number 1 on this list is because of nostalgia. It's kind of a personal tradition for me to watch this movie every year. But what about you? Do you have any guilty Halloween pleasures? Or Disney Halloween specials I missed? Let me know in the comments. Please like this video if you'll be watching any of these specials for Halloween, and subscribe even though there's 1 day left of the Chilling Challenge, because I swear we do make other videos, like we're a channel outside of this Disney Halloween month-long frenzy. The princess and I will see you tomorrow. Where's my buffalo?